I'm Kenneth Temple, and I'm glad that you brought your appetites today because we are preparing a beautiful chicken and sausage gumbo, also known as Gumbo Ya-Ya. This flavorful roux with the Holy Trinity and some Cajun spices is sure to leave a party in your mouth. Let's get cooking. Before we begin, make sure that you have 3 cups of cooked rice and also line a plate with paper towels. Before we begin prepping our chicken, let's get our oil hot. We're going to add a half a cup of canola oil to our pot over a medium-high heat. And this is going to allow us to get a light fry on our chicken. We are not making fried chicken. We are just lightly frying our chicken so that we can get some beautiful color on our chicken and also add some flavor to our oil. So I prefer drumettes, but if you have a whole chicken wing, just make sure that you separate the flat from the drum. And you can take off the tip. I know some people who love to eat the tip. I'm not that guy, but you may be that person. Just make sure you separate the two. It allows for a faster cook when you frying. We're going to season our chicken wings up with 2 tablespoons of Creole seasoning. You can call it Creole seasoning. You can call it Cajun seasoning. Just make sure it's from Louisiana. Now give this a nice coat to make sure everything is coated evenly. You want to see the seasoning on your chicken. That's how you know it has the real love in it. Can you see that? Look at that. That's flavor. Now, what we're also going to do is we're going to coat this with flour. Instead of creating a dredge station, I find it simpler just to dredge the chicken with some flour in the same bowl and then fry it. So we're going to take a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Get it all in. And now just toss your chicken evenly. That looks beautiful. Just until it's nice and coated. So typically when you find a Cajun or Creole seasoning, it'll have paprika, cayenne, black pepper, maybe some white pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder, and a little bit of dried herbs in it also. I can smell my oil. You can use a thermometer, but what I notice is that I have a shallow bit of oil. So let me show you a great trick. All you want to do is take some of your flour, and if it begins to dance on the top, you know it's hot. Now let's fry our chicken wings in batches. Don't overcrowd your pan either. And we're just going to let this cook for about 3 minutes on each side until it's golden brown. So Gumbo Ya-Ya was actually coined by Chef Paul Prudhomme back in the 70s when he said that this chicken and sausage gumbo was so good, it made you go, ya-ya. Now that's occasion for you to just start adding words to phrases of how to describe delicious food. So traditionally, everybody is familiar with filet gumbo, which is crab, shrimp, oysters, and the smoked sausage, and then you finish it with filet. Or you can cook it with filet. But the filet we get from the Native Americans, that's the most common that everybody around the world knows. But then there's okra gumbo, where we actually get the word gumbo from, which means okra. That some people believe if it doesn't have okra in the gumbo, it's not really gumbo. Traditionally, when I make okra gumbo, it's a tomato-based gumbo that doesn't have any roux like we learned from the French because okra itself is a thickening agent on its own. Now you have chicken and sausage gumbo. You can also do a roasted turkey gumbo during the holidays with the leftover turkey parts. Or if you know somebody who hunts, you can do a nice duck gumbo also. Our chicken is starting to smell good. Let's check it out. Oh, that's beautiful. A nice light golden brown. Once again, we're not frying chicken. We're just cooking it lightly. So gumbo is one of those dishes that you can eat year-round. Traditionally, it's always served during the holidays or any special occasion. I know a lot of people who still eat gumbo in the hot Louisiana summer months, but me and my family are too warm-blooded for that. We only wait for it to get nice in fall. You hear that? You hear that love making? We normally wait for the fall season to begin our gumbo season. These drumettes are looking amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep working my batch of chicken. You guys hit the pause button and do the exact same thing, and we'll come right back and pick this up. Look at how golden brown and delicious this chicken is. Oh yeah, it's not cooked, so do not take a bite out of this. Just set it aside while you build your gumbo. I'm going to turn our heat off our oil for now while we get ready to break down our mise en place. And mise en place is very important for you. It's a fancy French word that just means in place. And it's the best way to be efficient in the kitchen. Now that we've learned French for the day, let's talk about this trinity: onion, celery, and bell pepper. This is the backbone of Creole cuisine. If you do not have this in it, you do not have Creole cuisine. Very easy, very, very simple to make. All these ingredients can be found at your local grocery store. But we're just going to chop down our celery, 3 stalks of celery. Break that down. Don't go too fine because this gumbo is going to cook for a while. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Look at that. Then we're going to do our bell pepper. Now, I know some of y'all are the type to half it. Some of y'all like to do fancy chef tricks, but the easiest way to get your bell pepper is just to follow these little grooves in it and just cut along it and slide your knife down to the side. That's the easiest way to do it. No pith, no seeds, no scraping up all this extra stuff while you're trying to get your food chopped up, all right? And we'll chop this on down. Come back to one of my other Cajun Creole classes and I'll show y'all another fancy way of breaking down the bell pepper. So we're just going to go ahead and break this down. It's always important to have your onion, celery, and bell pepper. Anything else will not be taken for. You can have fun and you can add a different color bell pepper if you like, but just know that those different colors, red, orange, and yellow, have a little bit sweeter flavor profile than we're looking for in our gumbo. But if you're trying to jazz it up a little bit, do you? Look at that, nice and beautiful. And I always save the onion for last because why? Onions make us all cry, right? No matter if you've been in the kitchen for 12 years cooking professionally, every time you open up an onion, it just reminds you, you're gonna cry. We always use Spanish onions in Cajun Creole cuisine. You can use a white onion too, but never a Vidalia, never a red onion. Vidalias are too sweet and red onions just don't have that onion pop that we're looking for. All right, I wish I could give you a better word for onion pop, but it just don't have that onion love, okay? And always watch this first layer of onions. Sometimes it acts like it wants to be chopped, other times it starts slipping and sliding everywhere, and then your fingers are at risk. Now let's chop down our onion. And if you're a new cook and you're trying to figure out how to get even, consistent cuts, when you look at the onion, they have these little green or white grooves going along it. Just follow along those and that'll be your perfect guide to help you cut nice, straight onions, okay? But after you've been in the kitchen for a while, it really don't matter. You're gonna do it anyway. Beautiful. I hope y'all ready for some gumbo, some authentic gumbo, okay? This gumbo won't have corn in it. This gumbo won't have no hot dogs in it. This gumbo won't have eggs in it. I can't tell you the stuff social media has exposed that people put in their gumbo. This ain't the place. This is the place where you get the authentic love of how we do it in our house. So you can transform our New Orleans straight to your dinner table. Now let's get our oil back on. So I'm going to heat my oil back up to a smoking point. Now I know after frying the chicken, it takes out some of the oil. So I'm going to add an additional 1/4 cup of oil to this. Okay? I'm about to show y'all how to make a roux in 5 minutes. I know, 5-minute roux. Stay with me. You'll learn the roux secrets that grandmamas wish they would have learned back in the day. Now, if you've never had gumbo and you're wondering what you're about to experience, I want you just to close your eyes for 5 seconds. Imagine you're a millionaire. That's what gumbo tastes like. Tastes like money in the mouth. It is a beautiful broth that you cannot call a soup to anybody in Louisiana, but it has a soup-like consistency with layers of flavor all in it. And as we build this gumbo, you're gonna taste the layers of flavor. If you ever go anywhere and you don't have this beautiful color that we're about to do, just turn it back and tell me you want something else. Do you see this here? this white smoke, don't panic. This is what we're looking for. Turn down your fire just a little bit if you're uncomfortable. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna whisk in our flour. And we'll have a cocoa brown roux in a matter of minutes. For the sake of your ears, I'm gonna switch from the whisk and use a wooden spoon. 3/4 cups of flour have been added to our oil. So we started off with a 1/2 cup. We added some chicken and fried that down. The chicken sucked up some of that oil. So we put another 1/4 cup of oil in it. And then we're gonna put 3/4 cup of flour in here, okay? And I know all those little bits are starting to make you nervous. Don't worry, it's gonna add to the depth of flavor. Cut my fire back up. So you should be doing this over a medium-high heat. If that makes you nervous, just do medium and take your time, okay? Always remember the hot spot is gonna be in the middle, not the outside, so you just have to keep your roux moving. Just keep stirring. And right when you think it's not ready, all of a sudden it's gonna be ready. So you will begin to notice that it's starting to turn a nice almond peanut butter color, right? You wanna keep going. And if it's too hot over your hands, just cut down the fire and keep stirring. But even if it takes you 7 minutes to make a roux, it's a whole lot shorter than 45 minutes, all right? So take your time. Oh yeah, this is starting to turn beautiful. Now, I'm not gonna teach y'all to break my bad rules and stop stirring, but as you continue to stir it, you will begin to smell all of the nuttiness. And that's how you know you're hitting that peanut butter brown. That is the toasted flour. And the key to remember is the darker the roux, the less thickening power it has. So this right here, this color, this peanut butter brown, would thicken more than we're about to go. That's why we added 3/4 cup of flour with 3/4 cups of oil, so we have enough body to our gumbo. Oh yeah, it's getting there. Cut your fire off right now and just keep whisking, because we are almost there. All right. Any more longer, it's gonna burn. But that's what we're looking for. This nice cocoa brown color, okay? Don't worry about your gumbo swimming. Your roux shouldn't have a film of oil on it. That's just gonna be more oil that you have to take out at the back end. You just want this to be nice and almost kind of sandy-like, okay? Now, let's add our onions, celery, and bell pepper, our trinity. Oh yeah, that's what you want right there. And now by adding our vegetables, it's gonna stop the cooking of our roux, and it's just gonna begin to fry our vegetables. Oh yeah. Smells like love in here, y'all. All of that toasted flour is just doing work right now. So while that's cooking, let's break down our garlic. So I'm gonna take 5 of these garlic cloves, some big old boys, because I love garlic in my gumbo. You can choose to add a little bit more. You don't wanna add too much garlic because you don't want it to overpower the dish. We're making Gumbo Ya-Ya, not garlic gumbo, okay? So we're just gonna mince this up, get it nice and chopped really fine. And a good note to remember, the more that you chop garlic, the more garlic flavor that comes out. The less that you do it, you just, it was that thing I added to it. But the more you chop it down, you can taste the flavors. You want to taste the flavors in this, all right? Anytime you do Cajun Creole cooking, you want to taste the flavors. That's what it's all about, baby. Flavor, okay? So that's our garlic. And just so I don't forget it, I'm gonna put my bay leaves, 2 bay leaves, and my sprigs of thyme right next to it, so this all can go in at the exact same time. So I'm gonna take this sausage. I'm using some beef sausage. You can use andouille if you can find it, but honestly, everybody in Louisiana does not cook with andouille sausage as much as y'all think. It's one of those special occasion things. We normally just use any smoked sausage that's readily available. So don't feel like, oh, I can't do it unless I have andouille sausage. That's not the type of love we have here, okay? So I'm just taking 2 12-ounce sausage links and just chopping them down. It's smoked sausage, so it's already cooked. We don't have any cross-contamination going on here. We're just chopping down our sausage so it can be a part of the gumbo love. Now, a fun thing about gumbo, my grandmother, before I retired her from cooking gumbo, she always used to tell me to add a little bit of paprika to my gumbo to give it a little brownish reddish hue. That's actually how my Creole grandmother taught me. But when I went to culinary school and learned from the Cajuns, I learned this deep cocoa brown roux. She didn't love it, but when she tasted it, I got the ranks to make gumbo for the family. So it had to be something I was doing right? And that's what I'm teaching y'all, something to do right. Good. Now, this is why you want to stop your roux from going too far, because as you continue to cook it, the roux will get darker and darker. We don't want it to be black and then we lose it and have to start from scratch, okay? It may take you 1 or 2 times to learn exactly where to get it, but you'll get it. Now I'm going to add my 2 bay leaves. I'm going to add 5 sprigs of thyme, and I'm going to add my garlic. Now, something that I love to do to make sure I'm infusing it is I like to add a teaspoon of my Creole seasoning to my roux. And this just helps waken up that flavor beginning early. We're building our flavors right now. And once you incorporate it in it, you will smell that magic too. Who am I kidding? Let's add another teaspoon. So that's 2 teaspoons of Creole seasoning to our roux after we added 2 bay leaves and 5 sprigs of thyme and 5 garlic cloves. Now I'm going to add that spice to it. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of cayenne. And give it a stir. Just step back if you're not used to cooking with cayenne, because if it gets in your nose, you're going to start to sneeze. This is beautiful. Now let's begin to build our gumbo with our chicken stock. I like to add 2 cups first, just to make sure that all of my roux is fully cooked and there's no lumps. There is no such thing as lumpy gumbo. I'm not doing it, you're not doing it, we're gonna eat good. Now, as you can see, as we add it, look at how thick this is. Oh, that is amazing. Now we're gonna keep going. We're gonna add 12 cups total. Just stir as you add your low sodium chicken stock. Now, the reason why I do low sodium chicken stock is I want to control the salt that goes in my dish, no one else. Do you see that pretty color? That is gumbo right there. If you order gumbo at somebody's restaurant, even if it's in Louisiana, and it don't have this color, tell them I'm appalled. My grandma would not stand for this. Even if you're from Wisconsin or something, all right? You just got to play the role. Let them know you know what gumbo is. Because you was on the Food Network Kitchen with Chef Kenneth Temple in the Cajun Creole cuisine, learning how to make Gumbo Ya-Ya. So you ain't just standing for anything. Oh, yeah. Beautiful. That's lovely. That's lovely. Now, an uncommon ingredient is Worcestershire sauce. I love adding Worcestershire sauce to my gumbos, red beans, and jambalayas because it adds a depth of umami flavor that pairs well with the roux, the chicken, and the sausage every single time. We're gonna add 1 more teaspoon of our Creole seasoning, plus another tablespoon. That's how you layer those flavors in. We added a little bit with the roux. We added some with our chicken when we fried it, and now we have some at this part. So everything is building well. Now I'm going to add my sausage. Make sure that you release it close to the broth. I like to press it right on the back wall, just to avoid getting popped in my face with hot gumbo. And we're going to add our chicken back. You getting excited? You're about an hour away from having some beautiful Gumbo Ya-Ya. Give it a good little stir just to make sure that everybody is evenly distributed, okay? You don't want the sausage to the side, the chicken to one side. This is a family bonding situation going on here, all right? So once this comes up to a rolling boil, reduce your fire to a nice low simmer just so that it doesn't reduce too fast, but it'll allow it to thicken. You also have to remember, you never know how thick your gumbo is until it comes to a full rolling boil. Now, as the gumbo comes to a boil, you will notice this little foam starting to build up at the top. This is actually the impurities from your flour and oil separating. And as you begin to skim it as it comes to a boil, you will actually help your gumbo come to a boil faster. Now, if you happen to get some vegetables in there, don't worry. We chopped up a whole lot. They'll still be in the dish. Now we have this fully skimmed and our gumbo is at a full rolling boil. We're going to reduce our heat down to a low simmer and we're going to let this cook uncovered for 1 hour. Hit the pause button, cut on some music, clean up your dishes, and I'll see y'all back soon. This is looking really, really lovely here. This is what gumbo is all about. Now let's taste it to see exactly where it's at. I can just smell the love. Okay, I'm gonna add another 2 tablespoons of Creole seasoning to it just to wake up the flavors even more. And I'm also gonna add another teaspoon of salt and black pepper. And obviously, you can season to taste. We can cut this gumbo off, we can get our garnishes together, get our rice, and let's put this thing together. Okay, let's break down our Italian parsley. It's very important to make sure you don't have any of the stems on the parsley simply because the stems in parsley aren't like the stems in cilantro. They add a little bit of bitter flavor and we're already cooking with a roux. We don't need no more bitter in that, baby. I always love to just bunch up my parsley like this. It makes it easier to chop and then give a nice slice to it. I like these little ribbons rather than the fine chop that I learned in culinary school. It just makes for a prettier presentation in my opinion. Now we're gonna slide those to the side and then we're gonna take 1 bunch of green onions. We're gonna cut off just the top layer because they're slightly wilted. And that doesn't make for a pretty presentation. And we're gonna break down the green onion, white and green part, okay? And now that our green onions and our parsley are nice and mixed together, look at that. Now we have a beautiful garnish right here. This is also something fun to do with the rest of your herbs instead of garnishing them one at a time, is to make a little herbal blend for your garnish. I don't know about you, but my mouth is starting to water. Always have a little fun with your herbs in your rice, okay? Now, you have to make a decision with the type of person that you are in life. Are you a more rice or more gumbo type of person? When it comes to my gumbo, I'm about 50-50 because I want that rice to suck up all of that beautiful gumbo. Let's get some of that gumbo in here. You want to make sure you get a loving scoop, all right? And don't worry, you can always go back for more. Now, it's very important that you do not serve dry gumbo. What do I mean by dry gumbo? You want to see the broth in your gumbo, okay? This should be swimming because it's gumbo, okay? It's not rice and gravy. That's, hold on. Oh yeah, right there. That's what we're looking for right there. That is a healthy serving of gumbo. Now, if you can still see your rice after you add the gumbo, that's what I mean by dry gumbo. Now we're just gonna go ahead on and garnish it with a little green onions and parsley. Let me get a little taste of this. This gumbo is looking proper. And see, that's why it's so important to get a dark brown roux, because once we add the liquid, it's gonna lighten up our gumbo. If we did a peanut butter brown, this gumbo wouldn't be the perfect color. Yeah. I know why Chef Paul said that. This is amazing.